that I just come in there and look for knockoffs, and that's not the case. You know, I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, I'm here. Who wanted to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
My goal is to demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. How y'all doing out there? It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope program to step to. Only I'm not going to program you. I'm not going to program you. I'm not like these other guys. You know, I just like to talk a little boxing from time to time. And it's been a lot going on. And yeah, I've been watching. I've been keeping an eye on it. You know, I still know the pulse. I still know exactly what's going on. It's just, I would say that it's something when you see stuff that's under construction, the first part starts conceptually, theoretically, before anything really starts becoming destructed or moved or transition. It starts on the inside. So I've been doing a lot of construction. I've personally been under construction. So I said, I'm gonna start approaching things a little bit different. I'm still gonna be me, just an evolving me. So I've been watching everything, and I want to start out with a little bit of housekeeping. Subriel Matias, man. Subriel Matias is a certified savage. He slapped T.O.'s kufi off. Something that was much needed, man. It's like ever since he got that strap from Alberto Puello. Shout out to Alberto Puello, man. Nothing to hold your head down about. Ever since he got that strap, he has been a straight. Now, Subriel he always had that kind of energy. But it's almost like he's on the go. He got that green belt, and he's letting it be known, hey, T.O., he slapped his kufi off. T.O. was on his best behavior, being held, being kept. I'm like, the guy who wanted all this smoke, with Boots, the guy who said, he was going to do what he had to do against Devin, had the money been right, the guy that's been doing all the clown behavior when I said it was nothing to see here. Looking like a little bit of life karma is finally caught up to him. And Subriel Matias was like, hey, I'll be your Huckleberry. It's not often you see that. But nevertheless, T.O., he went back in hiding, I guess, witness protection. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, hopefully he learned his lesson from some of the things he was saying and all of the people that he turned off. But it looks like he still don't want no smoke with that guy, Subriel Matias. Then Subriel Matias called out Hitchens. He was like, this message is for Hitchens. He was cluck. He was calling him a cluck. I'm like, man, Richardson, you called out T.O. was no haps, turkey. He pulled his shenanigans and basically said, if you ain't affiliated with Eddie, then I'm not going to rump with it. And that kind of left you on the outs. You called out Devin. He used your name for clout, him and his father, and they decided to go another route. So now Richardson Hitchens is looking in a bad way because right after his fight, Gary Antoine Russell had some choice words on social media for Richardson Hitchens. Basically saying, going back to some amateur stuff. And remember, I posed the question, do amateur stuff matter? Like, do it matter? And it just depends on who's painting the narrative. Whose fight are you talking about and which sausage party you're attending, as far as whether or not the amateurs matter, because we can always go through a bunch of inconsistencies when it comes down to breaking down somebody's amateur records and history. However, that does not take away from the fact that Subriel Matias put pretty much the whole 140 on notice. Now, I have my opinions on Subriel. That style that he has, I'm not sure if that will work against the Gary Antoine Russell. Would love to see it. Subriel Matias in any fight, at this point in time it's going to give you its value. It's going to have, Subriel Matias has fights that have what I call playback value. So he's etched in stone. He's now a 2-time. He held that IBF when nobody dared to go over there and do it, but the one Liam Paro came and relieved him of his strap. Then he got relieved of his strap by Richardson Hitchens. 140 is my division. I held it down for Subriel Matias for a long time. Now, I do have some concerns about the fighting style, taking the kind of punishment that he has, that he has taken and that he takes and tends to. But he's just got one of them hard. He's one of them guys that's going to be stubborn. He got a hard head. And that's just the nature of him. He don't back down. He is the true essence of a throwback in spirit, and he has a unique style that he uses. A lot of people couldn't really get away. High motor, a tremendous gas tank. He's just gonna come forward, go right into the front door and beat you down, hit you wherever he can, just stalk you in your face, pesky. Just annoying you, just touching you all over. Just, it hurts here, it hurts there. That's just his style, and that's how he's going to be. And his personality is being embodied out here in these boxing streets, as he tells the whole 140 that he wants all of the smoke. I think that a clash between him and Mr. Gary Antoine Russell is inevitable, like I've been saying. And hopefully we will get that underway. Diego Pacheco, my guy at 168, along with Hamza, another one of my guys at 168. We did an episode where we basically entailed that Diego Pacheco, Hamza Shiraz, Christian and Billy, Osleys Iglesias. Those guys are looking like the future, and more Diego Pacheco, for all of these guys that love to proclaim, oh, these master class. I didn't hear nobody come out and say what Diego Pacheco did to Trevor, the Red Hat McCumbee. He was very surgical. I think it might have been 2 times where McCumbee might have got in a great look, where, Diego showed that, he was vulnerable like twice in that fight, got touched. But it happens in the sport of boxing. See, we can talk about it because it happens in the sport of boxing. But the man was surgical. He was strategic. He stayed focused. He stayed disciplined. And if we were just doing 15 rounds, it started getting ugly towards the end. But he didn't make it. He said, listen, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get the victory. I'm going to stay behind this jab. I'm working with the work up 1s and 2s. And he pretty much bottled Trevor McCumbee up, and he tied him up with a nice little bow, and presented him with a tremendous L of surgical boxing. And it's looking like, man, Diego Pacheco and Hamza Shiraz are probably going to be on a crash collision. Now, that can change. Because remember, I used to think that a guy like Fabio Worley from across the pond and a young Jared Big Baby Anderson was on a crash collision, and things changed. It almost changed for Hamza Shiraz with the Carlos Adames thing going on, but he was able to be awarded with a draw, even though I think Carlos Adames made me eat crow and won that fight. I see those guys on a crash collision. The question is, what is Christian and Billy going to do? How are they going to handle it? Who's going to be the first one to jump on that grenade? Even though he comes in with those power wings, it looks like the 168 division is going to belong to Diego Pacheco or Hamza Shiraz. If I had to make my guess, if I want to hear nothing about no Ras Clyde cheating, no gloves, no hand wraps, none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to keep it real on Edgar Berlanga. And it's funny that the biggest, nastiest channel on YouTube, been kind of quiet on that. The one who was, shoving Berlanga down everybody's throats and, basically uplifting him as the face of boxing and just putting all of these, I don't know what they were basing the foundation on, because, when it comes down to the accolade salad that everybody like to play, because everybody love to use accolades and accomplishments and all that when they want to back their points and back their favorite fighters and all that. But Edgar Berlanga just didn't happen to have any. I think they had to go back to drawing back to some amateur stuff and some history when it came down to Berlanga. So will he, get back in the saddle? Will he learn from this? Will he be a little humble, in defeat? Can he bounce back? Will he be damaged? We seen what happened, and what we can assess is going on with my main topic tonight. One of my mains in the DHP version. We seen what happened after he got thrashed by Ryan Garcia. Man, I want to say, man, I give a heartfelt condolences to Tim Tszyu, man. The soul snatcher. He quit on the stool. And like what my old head said about Imajistan Giannis when he quit on the stool up against Boots in Boots' last outing. It's never good to quit on the stool, man. It's never good because it's very hard to shake that mantra that you're a quitter when you do it on the stool. What should happen is you should come back out, and at the first sign of where you can't recover, you ain't got nothing going on, you let your corner just toss that towel in. That's way better than you just retiring on the stool. I think there's a much better approach. But shout out to Tim Tszyu because he is a real warrior. Didn't make any excuses. He just said, hey, he was the better man. It was none of that shenanigans that go on. That's why I like Tim Tszyu and the warrior spirit that he actually has. His future lies in the balance. It's only so many times you can really get hands and feet put all on you before you really ramp up the CTE, the PTSD, and all of those things. Those types of things, So I hope Tim Tszyu recovers, man. He came out there and basically, even on social media, he came out and basically, explained himself and doubled down on the fact that Fundora was just a better guy. He was just a better man. That, he explained himself. He wasn't a coward. He didn't tuck tail and run and hide and play hide and go seek or none of that stuff. Like some of my favorite guys, they be doing that. They just tucked away, just hiding, just letting social media, letting all the nastiest channels just take up all over them, nowhere to be found. They're not talking to nobody, not even speaking to the media. Just leaving us hanging. But since we in that division, I did see a Keith Thurman and a Jermell Charlo going at it, where Keith Thurman was doing Keith Thurman type things, and he was talking to Jermell, and Keith Keith was saying I'm thirsty. Keith was saying I'm thirsty, and Mel was like, "Yeah, you thirsty, but I'm hungry." And Mel was talking some big boy, he was talking that stuff like, "Hey, that's my division. I'm still the king of that division." And Mel, it was good to see him. Salute, Mel. It was good to see you, man. Like, you left a lot of your fans hanging, bruv. You know what I'm saying? Like, you left us out here in these YouTube streets, just letting people just eat away at your boxing body of work carcass right now. Just chewed on, man. Just it was good to see and hear from you. Still talking that Mr. Keep running your, that was good. And I hope. I really wanted to see the Thurman Spence. I think that would be right. I think that would be right and exact. If Errol would have come back and get his feet wet. I could see that. But I would love to see, like, right now, I would love to see Mel and Keith Thurman right now. I would love to see it. I would love to see that fight. What would the very good storylines, the trash talking is going to be, all the people that like all the messy stuff, all the catchy one-liners, all of that. You would get everything you desire in the press conference. This would be on another level. This would be superior to when Tony Harrison, who got a fight coming up this weekend, this would be on another level than when Jermell and Tony Harrison was going at it. Because Keith Thurman can talk that noise. Are these guys faded glory? I don't think so. I think this is a matter of time. They're about the same age. So I think that this would be I think Thurman is a little slightly older, but this is a good time. This would be a good time for them to fight. I'm not sure what's going on with Earl, whether he's going to grace 54, whether he's going to go to 60. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on. But one thing is for certain, man. It's a man named Bakram Murtazaliev who gave Tim Tszyu a thrashing, and it's looking like nobody really wants to fight the man. You talking about boogeyman? I mean, I thought that Erickson Lubin was trying to bark up that tree, and I'm just like, whoa, now. I mean, even though I wouldn't get in the way of that fight, I just wanted to see Lubin get his feet wet again and get back active, and he did against Ardrell Holmes. And I thought we were going to get that, but there's still no word on that. I thought that Boots might have pulled a Crawford and moved up since he had that IBF and latch on to a Bakram in typical Rocky movie style, with Apollo Creed against Ivan Drago, but it looks like we're not going to get it. Which Boots is the second half of my of the main talking points and everything I'll be discussing on this evening. Abdullah Mason is poised for greatness, man. Everything that I said, man, and how he might be the prototype, man. You are the prototype. He's young, he's hungry, with question marks and all of that, like as to whether or not he's ready and all this. It's like, listen, man, they believe in the young man. Is he flawless? Is he perfect? No. But do he have the heart? Yes. Do he have the character? Absolutely. Do he have the tutelage? Definitely. The background and the support? For sure. What about the medal? Yes, he's already faced adversity and character. The man has character. You can see the wheels turning. You can see him slow to speak, slow to answer, which is a good thing. He still has an appetite for smoke. He's getting ready to get it on with Sam Norcus. So I look forward to him, man. And once he able to get that title and that strap, we're going to see how the landscape of everything changes. I think that Schofield is going to be trying to bark up their tree, and they're going to be talking a lot and trying to latch on to them. But they had the opportunity to fight the man. I hope they revisit that. I think Abdullah and them is saying, listen, if you didn't want to fight me then, what would make them want to fight me now? Because they do say the champions get about 20% better once they get that strap around their waist. That's theoretical, but I think that a guy like Abdullah, I think that would apply because I think since that would solidify him, that would give him even more pride and something to hold on to and something to defend, something to campaign as. And I think he would go harder. So I think that extra 20% would apply to a guy like Abdullah. And he, along with Brian Norman, they actually encourage me in the sport as we look forward to the longevity, the sustainability, and for the people that's coming after them that's going to model themselves as to how they talk, how they conduct themselves, how they move, and how they fight. Because guess what? They're not safety first fighters. They're not safety first fighters. They go in there. They don't try to leave it up to the refs. They go in there. Guns is off safety. Dropping bombs. Trying to do bodily harm. But speaking of safety first fighters, Shakur Stevenson, man, he's back out here talking again, all over the place, just saying whatever comes out. Just one day he's saying this, one day he's saying that. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know Shakur anymore. I said this a long time ago, and I wish him well, but he's back out on social media talking again. As far as Tank, he got his legal issues, man. It's kind of messed up. I mean, I know how it is when you got legal issues going on and all that, but it is kind of hampering the fan base, man. Man, Tank, man, I hope you get everything together that you need, man. The boxing world is waiting on you. You know, the boxing world it's passing by. Slowly but surely, man. People getting antsy. People, you know, they already create narratives and all that. But I hope Tank get it together, man. I hope whatever legal battle that's ensuing, I hope he get it together, man. Because I would hate for the tail end of his career, if this is the tail end, or the back half of his career, to be hampered with nothing but fights when he got all this extra stuff on his mind, and, you know, opponents playing games and, you know, not wanting to fight and painting narratives in the media and everybody selling it, and Tank just willing away. You know, it was not that long ago that he fought. He did fight already this year. Most fighters only fight once a year anyway. But I'm hoping we get some kind of news. We hear something going on, man. And Tank, keep your head up. But just understand, you're giving a lot of talking points to the blood clot detractors, man. So we hopefully you bounce back, man, and you can get back to doing them gladiator type things, you know. Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Man, I don't call it a comeback. You know, I mean, he showed that he is special. You know, it's not many guys that had a relationship with their fathers, you know, where their father was in the corner coaching and talking and pretty much being their eyes and ears and their inspiration for it all. But it was a few. Jared Hurd, you know, Jared Hurd, he lost his pops, who was also his trainer. Tony Harrison, he lost his pops, who was also his trainer. And the Russells, they lost Papa Russell a couple years back. And the other two guys, you know, I think that it impacted them a little bit more. Maybe it's this band of brothers, and maybe it's the fact that Mr. Gary Russell Jr. is just that special. I mean, he pretty much had, at one point in time, he had the fastest hands in boxing. And he held the belt for the longest, 6 years, 352 days, was ducked by everybody. Every blood clot body down there. And he actually ingratiated himself with the lightweight division. So I gotta salute Mr. Gary Russell Jr. because I think in the effort to get a Tank fight, I think one of the requests was at least get your feet wet in the division. Well, it might have seemed like a month of Sundays, but he finally did it. He stepped back in the ring and showed that he still got it. That he has a flair for the dramatics. He can put down the ones and twos. He's nice, son. Like, I'm ecstatic for him, man. 2025 is full of surprises, man. And that's all. That was one of the prerequisites. I remember Coach Calvin was saying that, man, to at least get up in the division, fight in the division. It's kind of hard to think that you want something like that if you're down at 126 and all that, you know, and all. Well, he ingratiated himself. And he did it. He put on a show. You know, he did that body work. You know, looking crispy, looking sharp. So I salute Mr. Gary Russell Jr., man. And I think unlike Tony Harrison, who has a fight coming up, unlike Jared Hurd, who pretty much said he was hanging it up after his last fight. He said if old boy got with him, he was gonna hang it up. I don't think that them two guys are quite the same after the loss of their pops, respectfully. But I think Mr. Gary Russell, he still got a lot left in the tank. If he can get back to being active, he can get two of them things, because he was down to just once a year. It was like the annual Mr. Gary Russell show for years. Then he got pickpocketed by Mac Marceo when he put on an excellent one arm. like you know how they said top unarmed? He did a top one arm performance against Mr. Mark Marceo, and they pickpocketed him. I don't know how, but he came back. I think it was just a way to get him relieved of his strap, but he's back. So salute to Mr. Gary Russell. I seen an interview with Brian Norman. This is my last thing before I actually get into the meat and potatoes. Seen an interview with Brian Norman, man, and it's such a breath of fresh air listening to the young man talk and how he conduct himself in the interview, how poised he is, how cool he is, how down to earth he is. You know, in this braggadocious world where everybody gotta say that they better than, like you heard Shakur just say that Ray Robinson was cheeks, and everybody disrespect. Like we got the legends Roy Jones and Floyd going at it, and people just picking and choosing what they can and can't say about legends. You know, it's almost like a certain faction, they can say whatever they want about all kind of legends and being disrespectful, but this young man actually pays homage to the legend. He put Roy up there as his number one. He said he just want to, you know, be able to talk to Roy, you know, meet Roy, you know, have a conversation, pick his brain about Roy. And he gave his favorite boxers, but the way in which he's approaching this fight, I think that even leads to even more of the reason why I believe what I believe. That's Bishop for Juice. These ninjas is scared. That's the elephant in the room, man. And it's very, very hard for me to sit up here and listen to everybody while they want to play all these political games. You got people in Philly acting like they don't see what's going on and playing all these games. I'm like, man, listen, man. It was one guy that I know, man, was gonna keep it a buck. I haven't heard him yet. That's Crush. Crush is probably the only one I know that would actually keep it a buck when it comes to things, even when there's something going on in Philly and there's something that ain't right. He's about the only one from Philly that I know keep it all the way a buck. I heard them crying. I heard one of the biggest Boots fans crying about stuff that Brian Norman Sr. was saying. I'm like, man, cry me a river. Cry me a river. Cry me. Cry me a river, man. It's like, yeah, we can't sit up here and be playing these games, and you know you got the lead politician that's gonna keep. He do it every fight, every batch. Everybody did it with Bud and Spence, the paddling, the back and forth, the flip flopping. He doing it with Tank and Shakur every other day. He doing it, you know what I'm saying? He doing it with Norman and Boots. He doing it. You know, and I gotta speak to these things because there are people that actually have influence, and I always said that when you got a certain amount of people that's listening, watching, like hanging on to your every word, that tune into you like every day, you got a responsibility to keep it 10 times 10 in every way. But that's not what we get. We get the political jargon. We get the back and forth. We get ping pong. We get tennis balled. Ironically, we get tennis ball back and forth. And so I'm going to speak on my perspective on why I'm taking this stance and how these, because it's scared, man. I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life. Where two of the guys that we are saying are they saying that these guys are great. They saying that Devin, Debo, Haney, the Dream, the Matrix, I don't know what he is, but they put him up here in this high regard. They give him, they credit him with having cleared out 135, which I'm like, man, y'all be getting real, what you want to call it, liberal in your definitions as far as clearing out. Let's put it like this: he was able to get undisputed at 35, and he had a couple names on his resume, from Lomachenko, Jorge Linares, Jojo Diaz, Yuriorkis Gamboa. Never mind the situation behind it and the timing and all of those things, all the things that we consider when we analyze everybody else. Never mind that. He was able to get all of the straps, and he tossed the franchise out the window. He kicked that out the frame. That was a great thing. The next notch on his belt was he moved up. He got a Regis Pro grade. Full credit for that. It's been downhill after that. So undisputed, two-time champ, didn't want to go get his strap, didn't want to fight his mandatory in Sandor Martin, didn't even want to entertain Mr. Gary Russell Jr. They didn't want to budge on some numbers with T.O. and finally get it on, but they like to play the media game where they're going to just ping pong and say that T.O. didn't want this and didn't do this and do. But I always say that when you look at it closely, when you're not just out here spraying throat coat, displaying tonsil jewelry, putting on knee pads, things like that. When you're not doing those kind of things, you can look at the history and see that Teofimo Lopez did everything that Devin Haney did before Devin Haney did it. The tides are turning right now because Devin Haney is doing something that T.O. has yet to do, even though T.O. was trying to do it with boots. Whereas he's fully entering the welterweight division at a full-fledged, no catch weight, fighting a full-fledged champion at welterweight in Mr. Brian Norman Jr. And this was impeccable timing because he couldn't have did it at a time better, almost like it was kind of like orchestrated, where it's like, you know how on the highway when I always say that the perfect exchange, like when you're getting off of a ramp and somebody's getting on, it's like the perfect merge where both parties slow down slightly, they switch lanes, nobody really has to hit a hard brake. You might not even have to hit if you like me, you probably don't even have to hit your brakes. Just an even exchange. One person get off the ramp, other person get on the ramp, and everybody keep it pushing. No accident, no fender bender, no police, no sirens, no collisions. Was it timed like that? Was it talked about like that? Because there are these tables, there are these meetings, and I find it real odd. I found it real ironic that Boots, by way of Eddie, came out. He basically said that he wanted Brian Norman and them to agree to a fight later this year. Now, this was like 3 weeks, almost a month. It's like 20-something days away from when Brian Norman was getting ready to fight Jen Sasaki. And a creator like myself came out and did a video and said, hold on now. What is Eddie talking about, bro? And Brian Norman Sr. actually was saying, listen, man, in theory, yeah, verbally, yeah, you got my word that once we go over here, we have a shot of gin, you know, on the rocks, eat some sushi. We're going to get right back to you. You got it. We can do this. I think he said if the fight is on the 19th, which it was, then on the 20th, we can agree. We just can't sign we can't do all of that signing and do all of this stuff, but you got it. And everybody was like, oh man, so in one breath, because I always say this, man, people cannot have it both ways. You cannot get the benefit of the doubt, and we still have people that were remedial. I'm not sure how many times. I don't even know how many times. How many times can you take the sixth grade? Is it because I know they came out with that No Child Left Behind program, and I think a lot of us out here online was part of that No Child Left Behind. Like, it was shenanigans when I saw it. You know, I was born in 80. I'm 44. I'm about to be 45. So when they came out with that No Child Left Behind, because in my day, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you was gonna have to do that grade over again. But some of us are what we call remedial, to where we love using these same talking points, right? But we are very conscious when it comes down to attacking other fighters and using the same thorough logic when we want to prove our points. But we are so forgetful when it comes to the fighters that we represent, the fighters that we campaign for, the fighters that, I'm talking about y'all now, that y'all put on knee pads for, spray on throat coat for, display tonsil jewelry for, move all kind of goalposts, have sausage and after weenie, after frank, after foot long, after quarter pounder for. We forget all the time. And I'm not sure how we do that. But the first time that they were in the negotiations and he was obligated, and I gotta take my time, man, because it seemed like man, some people just love being stuck in the past. You know, I think it's almost like when you're reading and you find yourself reading it, but you're not comprehending it. By the time you read it the third time, it's like you got to put it down. You got to go back and look at it with fresh eyes. So I'm going to say this one last time. There was a point in time when Boots was obligated to fight Karen because of Eddie and his mishaps, by him not paying the extra bread. The fight between him and Norman could have never happened. Could have never happened. But they ran with it. Then they went back to that same well with the same old tricks. Now, it's funny how a lot of people can outline that these are the same things that Eddie has done, because they mention it, that Eddie did it when he was with AJ. And the whole Deontay Wilder thing was going on. And that's why I say it's the tale of two Eddies. Eddie has likable qualities, but Eddie also has a bag of tricks. And Eddie had done a great job at, once again, I always say, he's done an excellent job at procuring American talent, taking them across the pond and mismanaging them. It's been a track record. It's been a history of it. Everybody knows it. Everybody can point it out. So it's real funny how in current day, you can have a conversation about Eddie Hearn and point out all his flaws. But you bring up Boots in this current situation, you want to wholeheartedly defend everything that there is about Boots. But guess what? This is what I've noticed. In every conversation I hear about Boots, when people trying to defend them or people trying to be pro or trying to be con, they have to do it on the back of their love for Devin Haney, their hate for Devin Haney, their love for Brian Norman, or their hate for Brian Norman. How about you judge his moves in a vacuum? How about you drop the whole thing about Devin and whether or not you're so upset about Devin saying that he ducked? How about you drop the fact that Brian Norman Sr. is still talking smack about Boots? How about you just look at Boots? How about you just take his words? How about you just put him in the crosshairs, you analyze every move circumspectly, and then you ask yourself, when we were saying that he should move up, why were y'all saying we were rushing Boots? Only for y'all to come back around and say, oh, he been here for 10 years. Stop with all the politics. It don't matter whether or not we know Devin was lying about Boots ducking him. We know that. He didn't want no smoke because it's real ironic. They had nothing but respect. You ain't never heard Bill say nothing outlandish about Bozy. Because he know Bozy will put hands and feet on him. Bozy don't play. And I imagine Bill's gonna want to be able to go to Philly. Cause I can imagine that you with the Bernard Hopkins stuff, and then if you climb that tree and you get on the wrong side of that animal or the wrong side of that conversation, and the way them Philly cats are, because I always told y'all there is a beehive for Devin Haney, but guess what? There's also a beehive for Boots. And I was saying, man, I love Boots, man. I like his character. I like how he is. He's a gym rat. You can't say nothing bad about Boots. But when we put him on the scale and we look at the moves, not the man, the moves, everybody else would get roasted for doing the same thing. Everybody else would get roasted. When we was on this Fahrenheit 9/11 stuff, and it was a hot topic, we were on it. I came out here and said, what if the boot was on the other foot? What if B Norm, the Storm, was doing everything that Boots did? It would be a whole different conversation. That's how you know this gets scared. I don't know if it's Eddie in his ear advising him, because he has to take some ownership. He has to take some ownership for losing that purse bid and then getting it back. He has to take some ownership for the level of competition that he was able to get Boots. Now, he could take some credit for actually getting them unified. But remember, Boots, Stan Giannis, everybody else that was at 147 at the welterweight division, they all had the benefit of being able to say, Virgil for a long period of time, all had the benefit of being able to say, hey man, I'm standing in line, man. Come on, man. We just waiting on Earl and Bud, man. We just waiting for them to get. So when that finally happened and the dust was settled and Bud came out as the guy, and then, you know, Spence went to go lick his wounds, the coast was clear. So all of the hype, all of the benefit, all of that, what all we saying, oh man, we always give, because Boots was getting all of the benefits of the doubt. All of it. Why? He was looking there. Everybody was saying he was the next thing, he was the next Roy Jones. I think that kind of changed when they seen him in there with Karan. And that's when I first started saying, man, do Boots got a beehive like Devin got a beehive? Because you can't say anything critical. Now, them cats from Philly, they can say whatever they want about whoever they want, and nobody ever checks them. They say some of the most outlandish things when they giving their reports and they giving a breakdown. Like I just heard Greg Hackett call Shakur Stevenson a shapeshifter. I'm like, yeah, I don't know anything about boxing. I don't know about boxing. If Shakur's a shapeshifter, Cause I don't know what you would call Floyd. I don't know what you would call Tank. I don't know what you would call, like, I don't know. But they can get away with saying some pretty crazy things about everybody else. Remember, these guys from Philly, these cats from Philly, they were the same ones that were telling Stephen Fulton that and all your anyway was a hype job. Yeah. Every time they came up, yeah. Remember I told you I lost friends over this? Yeah, these same guys were the ones that was telling Fulton in the camp that Naoya anyway was a hype job. So don't tell me how they be all how they be unbiased and they just really just want to talk. No, they crying a river for Boots because the move that he making don't look good. And I'm gonna tell y'all what happened. I'm gonna tell y'all when it went wrong and when I really started saying, this look kind of suspect. When Brian Norman wound up spiking Jen Sasaki when he had that shot of Jen. Y'all remember that? When he had that shot of Jen, because I was saying, man, is he the most dangerous man in boxing right now? After that, I said it was global warming for what he did. They came out a couple days before the fight and announced that Boots was moving to 154. And I'm like, man, that was crazy timing. Immediately, what I do? I said, oh, Brian Norman might be on his Tony Montana, man. The division is yours. The division is yours. Like, pretty much, it was by default. It was by default. Because, to his credit, Boots was the guy who actually unified. Boots was tenured. Boots did have a Romain Villa. Boots did have a Custio Clayton. Boots did have a David Avanesian. So to a certain extent, he was trying to spell a little bit of Bud. He was trying to spell him a little bit. That's why he went and got that. You know, he had all. So to his credit, he was the more tenured. And I guess he would have the more notable names. One because of the card that he fought on, because everybody saw him on the Tank undercard when he fought Karen the first time. It was him and Speedy Rashidi going at it, but Speedy Rashidi, you know, kind of lost. He lost the fight. I had him winning at Romain Villa. Boots did what he needed to do. Spanked Romain Villa. Stopped him. So as far as names, probably the more credible names. He had some highlight reels. He was supposed to be the heir apparent. It was looking like Brian Norman and them were just a thorn in the side. But the cachet that Brian Norman had started growing. He started coming into his own. His hands healed. He went through his little adversity, and I love how we talk about his adversity. He don't deny it. He acknowledged what the fans say. He's cool with it. He understands I might have to go back to the lab. He's not sensitive. Can't say that for the Beehive. So when they came out and announced they was moving up, but it was no other information. And granted, remind you, I was not just defending Brian Norman. I said, listen, this thing you got to put some onus on Eddie because they smeared. Brian Norman wasn't the only guy that they smeared. They also smeared Conwell because they were double talking. Now you're not gonna, what they be saying, you ain't gonna hear this nowhere else. You're not gonna hear this nowhere else. You know you ain't gonna hear this nowhere else, right? You ain't gonna hear this content nowhere else. You ain't gonna hear this nowhere else. Because they smeared Conwell. Now, how can a man say that he want to be undisputed? Because I was tracking. I went to the fight when I was there to witness the history. I got the picture to show it. I took the lady up there to the fight. So I was doing my part to support, trying to be like, okay, cool. I want to see. They say Boots next. Let's see what he got. Let's be down. I want to be down like Brandy. Let's go. And I was in the building. That's when Zay Quinn, he got his Giasov, he got his that day. And it was known that he was going to be next. So I was in the building. So we went up there. We went to the fight. And we witnessed it. I witnessed history. So I'm like, cool. Maybe he really is about that life. He got the ring. He got the IBF. He got the WBA. Now he got to get that WBC. And he got to get the WBO. Well, we know Barrios. He was off the table because he had that Pacquiao thing going on. And Brian Norman was saying, look, man, we did our part by pretty much making Cuevas say no mas. You the guy. All you gotta do is say our name. He didn't even say his name. He said, why y'all talk about him, man? He ain't that good. That's what he said. Then he went out there and he volunteered too much information because he said that they gave Stan Giannis more money. Just blurted that out. Just blurted that out. Should have let Eddie do more of the talking because Eddie would have never brought that to the. Eddie would have never came on and said that. Why? Because that really was an indictment on Eddie. That's why I be trying to tell y'all, man. You can't be, because it's guilty by association. It's the same thing that I be trying to say about Shakur. How can Shakur win a tank fight if he go over there and mess with Eddie? And then tell Eddie, I don't want that. You affiliated with Eddie. Boots, you affiliated with Eddie. Eddie would have never said nothing like that. So that was a head scratcher. It's like, okay, well, they don't give no inclination that they want to fight the Normans when the mic was in their face. Just like we was waiting for Shakur just now to say something about Tank. It didn't happen. He said, I want to go home and heal and do all this other. It didn't happen. But when certain fighters fight, y'all be expecting to call out, but they didn't do nothing to give no inclination they wanted to fight Brian Norman. It wasn't up until 3 weeks before the Sasaki fight that they started talking about it. And you know what really set it off? You know what really made it look crazy? Is they announced that they was moving up a couple of days before the fight. Right? Even though rumor has it that it was a significant portion of time where they already knew they was moving up. So it was slimy for Eddie, but you ain't gonna hear that. No, you ain't gonna hear this nowhere else. You ain't gonna hear this nowhere else. They won't even address this. Why was it so slimy for Eddie to come out there and try to say that they sent the Brian Norman another offer and they wanted him to sign, and Brian Norman and them, they got out there in the media. They said, we're not gonna let this grow no legs. And the legs grow hair and the hair get ticks. And it's, you know what I'm saying, they run with this. We ain't gonna let that happen. We gonna get out there. We know. Listen, he said, yeah, verbally we can get it on. We can't sign nothing right now because we got this underway. That was a grimy move on Eddie. You won't hear nobody from Philly. You won't hear nobody back in Boots in the Beehive. You won't hear nobody talk to this. Why? Because it would not be complimentary to the narratives that they gotta paint. So that was grimy. But guess what? When Brian spiked Jen, he had his shot of Jen. Flatlined that man. They was on social media for like a week. It's like, hold on. And I was saying, because I remember like yesterday, I said, AC, man. Why you think Team Boots and them, why you think they still talking about the Norman? I asked them. Because y'all already announced that y'all was moving up to 54, and then they even alluded to, well, if he wanted to fight, then he can go to 54. Well, when he come to 50, they already started. I'm like, but it was like at least a week and a half. That's all they were talking. Like, Boots left, but they were still talking about the Normans. You fast forward to this week, they crying. They crying because Senior still, they got action. So not only was Boots done with his fight before the Sasaki thing got booked, they had to go find business. They had to go do something. And I said this the last time. I said, so what were they supposed to do? They were just supposed to sit around and wait for Eddie or Boots to just give the word, so those at their beck and call. It's not like they on the same label. One was on Top Rank. One was with Matchroom. So it didn't make no sense to me. You ain't gonna find this nowhere else. You ain't even gonna get this address nowhere else. They just gonna be crying. I believe Senior got a right to talk. I believe he got a right to, because it was nasty, it was musty, it was crazy that they was actually out there talking about Brian Norman, where Boots just announced that he's moving up. Don't give you no more information after that. We don't know who we fighting, whatever. And then the next thing we know, check this out. The next thing we know is Turkey say, now listen, Tank said he wanted 2 Ferraris. Tank say, hey Turk, give me 2 Ferraris. Boots say, give me 2 tune-ups. I was like, what? What? Well, we all know, as far as when they say cut from the same cloth, we know he ain't. We know he ain't one. He ain't cut from the Earl Spence cloth. Earl say he don't do tune-ups, even though I be wanting them to. Even though I would love for Earl to come back, have a tune-up, and then, you know what I'm saying, start part 2 of his spree. You know what I'm saying? Again, I would love it, but Earl, he don't do tune-ups. He don't do tune-ups, and guess what? But when he moved up to welterweight, Jeff Horn off the rip, coming off of a Manny Pacquiao fight. And even though I didn't approve of the Madrimov, I was saying, oh man, who is this guy and all this? Right off the rip, he went up there and fought a Madrimov. But Boots want 2 tune-ups. It's like, dang, well, I would have asked Sheik, if you're going to give me 2 tune-ups, just give me 2 Ferraris and 2 tune-ups. And people don't see they don't see what's wrong with that. Why he can't acclimatize, and they using all these big words. Why he can't acclimate? It's like, do y'all see the landscape of boxing right now and how people are moving right now? The only person within reason that should be asking to acclimate and all this, which was probably like Naoya anyway, because he's doing it in so many, he's in his 5th weight class, you know, and yeah, that's like once you get up to like your 5th, but to acclimate when you the best thing since sliced bread and people saying that you the second coming of Roy Jones, and you know, you will be, and then what, like you said, you made the way easy. It just looked real suspicious that you just didn't want to see Brian Norman. And then Eddie came out with that weirdo energy. You won't hear this nowhere else. You're not gonna hear this nowhere else. Eddie came out and said that the sports scientist said that he was at 50% and that he would not look his optimum way when they was entertaining the fight with T.O. I said, man, no. That's why I didn't even want to see the T.O. fight, because there would have been another 140 moving up. And T.O. started at 135. Because remember, he got the Lipinets, all them 40s moving up. He was getting the benefit of that. I even know for a fact that one of the things was they wanted Sabril to move up. I heard that was one of the offers before Sabril went over there to Matchroom and signed. That was one of the offers. They wanted Sabril to move up. And I said, come on, man. And at first I said, nah. And then at first I said, hold on. Well, Sabril, you can't get a fight. Bush, you can't get a fight. Y'all both under the IBF. I said, why not? And did a video. But that's just the kind of energy I keep. That's the kind of energy. I said, well, if you're going to fight one of the 40s, fight somebody like Sabril. I guess that didn't look attractive to Sabril and them. That didn't look attractive. So he went over there. Eddie finagled him. Wound up losing the strap. Things come full circle. Turkey give him an opportunity with Puello. He get a strap back. Not the IBF, but the WBC. And we see what happened. But if you look at these moves in a vacuum, and then when you say, okay, you need 2 tune-ups, you've been sucking down, but you look so great against Gervonta Stellionis with no rehydration. I said, I don't know what the big deal was. You just cut weight to get down to see Stellionis. You said, man, you had a nutritionist and it was easy and you felt good and you wouldn't have the, because, you know, when you unify, you don't have the IBF rehydration no more. You look great. So I'm like, I don't know why, if Eddie had put out that, because you're not going to find this nowhere else where they're going to address this. Why would Eddie say something about that 3 weeks before the Jin Sasaki fight? Right? That they wanted to fight later on in the year and that they must agree. They must do this and right, like a pump fake. Why would they say that if it was so difficult and so hard for you to make weight? They wouldn't have said that. Because it wasn't hard for you to make weight. You're a professional. You're a gym rat. This is what you do. Bad representation. And the one guy from Philly be saying that, man, you gotta have, what he be saying? In boxing, you only as good as your rep. He always say something about rep. Don't quote me. He always say something about representation. You need good representation. Well, look like you've been misrepresented, if you ask me. Because it looked kind of funny, because like I said, if the shoe was on the other foot, they would have cooked. Brian Norman and them would have had to have diapers on. Because y'all would have cooked the out of them. And then with Bakram, they saying nobody will fight Bakram. So you need 2 tune-ups to fight a Bakram? And then they be acting like, they act like Boots is older than Tank. But they be trying to say Tank is so old, but then Boots come out and say, he been saying some weird, like, and all, I was trying to stick to the nitty gritty with what Boots said. He said, listen, if you don't hear from me, then blah, blah this and blah, blah that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, he gonna take that stance. And then when his people and them get him in front of the microphone, they ask him everything but the stuff that we want to know. But they can grill everybody else. I'd be like, keep that same energy. We're not going to do that politics over here. We play both sides. Because I can judge it in a vacuum. I can look at it and say, man, what Devin was saying about Boots ducking them, that's pure D garbage. That ain't going to make me upset with DHP. Because that's what they do. That's what they do. They slander. They misrepresent. They win the fights in the media and play mind games and with opponent selection, except for they picked the wrong opponent. I'm about to get to that in a second. They picked the wrong opponent. So I can judge this in the vacuum and say, yeah, because I remember being on the other side of the conversation and Mr. Politics, the politician, he came out and he basically was saying, oh no, man, he need to stay there, man. I would stay there and get undisputed. The minute he moved up, he changed his whole tune and said, oh, he been here for 10 years playing politics. But then want to separate, but then try to separate themselves from the Nesses of the world who do the same thing. The show business of the world who do the same thing. They flip and they flop. Clippity clop. They flip and they flop, man, like pancakes, man. They just flip. So whatever's good. So if it's a good time to be acting like you like Shakur, then they'll represent Shakur. If it's a good time and they feel like they don't want to offend nobody, they're gonna represent Boots. But they gotta judge it in a vacuum. Look at the moves. Look at the moves. Look at the chronological order and make it make sense. Stop crying all the time. Stop acting like somebody done you. And I noticed they can't stand when nobody say anything about them. It actually hurts. It's just like the Devin fan. They can't stand any kind of criticism. Oh man, the hate needs to be studied. I don't understand, man. Why y'all hating on Boots? Ain't nobody hating on Boots. Don't nobody even be hating on Devin for real. I think he's gotten to the point to where he done rubbed so many people wrong. Now Devin, he done rubbed so many people wrong. People want to see him get smacked. People, they can't wait to see him get smacked. And it's warranted. But with Boots, there is no reason to hate Boots. What did he do? He didn't do nothing to make people hate him. So they gotta be telling the truth. That's why I always say, don't gaslight me. I'm already lit. Y'all need to cut it out. It's looking like he's scared. And another thing, Virgil had to bear the grunt of this. Is why I be talking about when people be wanting to have it both ways. Virgil had to bear the grunt of always looking like he was avoiding Boots, right? When they was at 47. He had to bear the grunt of being labeled as, you know, some funny business because of the rhabdomyolysis and him trying to cut weight, and then him and Stanionis, like, you know, that fight was supposed to be scheduled like 3 times. It got put off twice. Once because of appendicitis by Amanda Stanionis, twice because of the rhabdomyolysis. So he had to bear the grunt of the jacket of some funny business with his organs, right? He had to bear the grunt of saying that he needed 2 to 4 years before he fight Boots. That was on record. Like all of these things. So in one breath, he had to bear the grunt of that. Guess what he did? He moved up. He got a board chuck. He beat a Madrimov. That's what he did at 54. So all of that other stuff, that's old news. That's old news. You can't turn around now and say, oh, because guess what? We didn't know until now. The powers that be might have known. The powers that be. We didn't know until Eddie came out and announced that Boots was going to 54. We didn't know. So in present time, the way I look at it, as a businessman, in present time, if a guy up out of the blue just say, hey, I ain't moving up, right? Under the guise that you were supposed to get undisputed and collect all the belts, in which you had started your spree. Amanda Stanionis and getting the ring, that was 2 more belts. It was only 2 of them out there left. So we thinking you gonna go do that. So to abruptly halt that and then move up, you can't try to say that somebody already at that division with their own career path, knowing what's going on, looking out ahead of you. If they don't want to fight you ASAP as soon as you move up, that they're ducking you. That's not how that works, because you was at welterweight getting ready to get undisputed. Riddle me that. If I've already went up to 54, I got a board chuck, I got a Madrimov. I had ties to a Xander Zayas. I had my head on the swivel. We trying to figure out what's the next best thing for me in my career, because I'm already at 54. I've already fought on a turkey card. I've already kind of like earned my stripes at 54. I'm getting ingratiated. I'm looking around. I got my head on the swivel. I don't know what's going on. Like I'm trying to figure out me. Just because you jump up and you pop up, it might have been plans already in the works, but because you jump up and you pop up, now if I don't say yes right away, or if I say, all right, well, 2 months from now, let's do this, now I'm ducking too. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. It looks suspect. And then the 2 tune-ups, you got Murtazaev, you got Lubin. I think Ramos, I think he might be at 60 now. Then you said something about they said that even if you were to entertain the Devin, you wanted him to you wanted to do it at 52 at a catch weight. So I'm like, they be people pick and choose when the catch weight is okay. Which man, if y'all think this Brian Norman and this Devin Haney stuff, which I'm about to get on to right now, if y'all think that is terrible, wait till if the D Hive ever go against the Beehive. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You might well open up the chat with a box of tissues, man, because they're gonna be crying and whining. Why'd you say that about my boots? Why'd you say that about my Devi poo? It's like they both moving funny. When you strip it all down, you look at it and you stop trying to be political about it and stop trying to show some affiliation and show that, oh, I'm down and I'm on code, because you're not on code. You're not on code. Let me tell y'all something. You're not on code when you're not telling the truth. When you're not analyzing the situation truthfully. That's not on code. Not for the sport. Then we know they on code for Devin, so they'll lie, whatever. So that's one type of code. But when you're talking about on code, you're never on code when you're not telling the truth. I don't care who you represent. That's not on code. I ain't gonna charge you nothing for that. With Devin, didn't I tell y'all? I told y'all. It wasn't ironic how I said it was a setup and then like a day later, 2 days later, it just blew. Because I said this about to be the ice age when Brian Norman finally, because see, Devin is the squirrel chasing after that nut. And you know, he found himself in some real compromising positions chasing after that nut. And I said that Brian Norman, B Norm the Storm, this is gonna be the ice age. Because once he iced Devin, it's gonna be a wrap. It ain't gonna be no coming back from this. It's gonna be the DHP era will be officially over. No Mount Rushmore and all of that. No. You're gonna have to get rushed somewhere, or they're gonna have to rush you some more to the hot. Like they're gonna have to rush you somewhere, but it ain't gonna be to Mount Rushmore. So he got caught up chasing this nut. Brian Norman, it's gonna be the ice age. But ain't it ironic how right when I was saying it was a setup and how they're gonna say that he cheated? Like if you won, I said Norman, I wouldn't let these dudes touch you. Remember, no skin showing, turtleneck at every turn. Whenever y'all face to face, don't let nobody touch you. Full body, everything. Turtleneck, gloves, no mask, everything. Nowhere where skin can show and nobody can touch you. And I said that even if you win, you're gonna lose in public media. Like in media, you're gonna lose because they're gonna say that you cheated. Y'all, like right after this, they went on a full-blown campaign talking about this man and how he won't test before August the 1st. I told y'all. That's why I said I'm not going to be going live as much, because when I come out and say it, I'll be on it in real time. Nobody respect it. But they'll use the talking points. They'll come out and do a whole material, tell you, oh, you ain't going to find this nowhere else. Use all of the talking points. Get paid for it. And I be sitting around like, hold on, man. Hold on. You ain't going to find this nowhere else. But didn't I say this last night? Didn't I say that last week? Didn't I just say that the other day? I said, okay, let me slow it down then. Because I learned from history, right? Because if you know your real history, right, you don't get persuaded by all of the fake history. They could tell you Christopher discovered this and we weren't over here and we all came from over there. Like they could tell you, when it come down to me, you could tell me whatever you want. I know the real history. So I'm not going to be moved or swayed by every glimpse, every video, every little thing that come out there, everything that pop out. I don't feel like I got to address it or be swayed by it or bothered by it, because I know the true history. It's like when you know the truth, you can recognize a lie, but you don't got to study a lie because you know the truth. And I told y'all, just like with the Wilder situation, when he lost, every excuse in the book. I said when Devin loses, when he gets spiked, every excuse in the book, they've already started it. When I said that they didn't want this fight, they had no choice. I had been saying, man, I've been saying, nowhere to run to, baby, nowhere to hide. Why? Because he took too long down there at 35. He took too long. He stopped at 140 for a cup of coffee, grabbed the strap off of Regis, got in the sandbox with Ryan. Splat. Bounced back against an aged Jose Ramirez, who his biggest supporter, his biggest knee pad wearing supporter in Ness told us that Jose Ramirez was on the bottom. That he had a drinking problem. That he was already past it. But because they play the accolade games, accolade salad, accolades and accomplishments and former champ and two-time and all that accolade salad that they play when they pick their opponents. And then they get people on YouTube and people on Twitter and Instagram to put out these narratives and pump it up based on some accolades. Like the man is the best thing since sliced bread and he's better than Roy and Floyd and Zab and all of them put together. People will get out online and run with it. That's what they did with Jose Ramirez. And he ran for his life. But they was up against it. Why? Because Turkey was not going to give him a turkey bag if he wasn't going to get in there with somebody that had the ability to inflict bodily harm on him. No more soft touches, my friend. It's just like with Turkey. It's crazy how everybody love what Turkey be saying, man. When I put Turkey in the crosshairs. I've been told y'all what Turkey was. Told y'all he was a Trojan horse. I've been said it. Told y'all he was a sugar sheep. And then I see people using this point now. Is he making America air? This point is good. Like, it's a lot of people eating off of this point right here, acting like they had been saying it the whole time. I've been told y'all about this guy. And they were trying to tell me, oh man, you just hating, man. You just love some PBC, man. Oh, you just the Earl. What they be saying? Oh, you just the Earl sexual. Oh, you a tankomaniac. Oh, you be gangbanging for PBC. No, I be telling the truth. But it's funny how everybody be jacking everything that Turkey say, right? Everybody be jacking everything that Turkey say. Why they ain't jack what Turkey said about Boots? Oh, he's like two nuts. He said, oh man, you can go over there with Eddie for that. You can go over there with Eddie for that, man. Cut, my friend. Call me back when you want big fight, my friend. Ain't nobody jacking that. They'll tell you everything. They'll tell you what color thong Turkey got on, like how many head wraps he got in his collection. They'll tell you how many he got, like 3,000 pair of sandals. They'll tell you everything you need to know about Turk, what color his camels are, all of that stuff about Turk. But they ain't jacking that when he said, no, man, go over there with Eddie if you want the tune-ups. Meanwhile, you was about to have Conor Ben entertaining a fight with Shakur. So Conor Ben was going to entertain a fight with Shakur. You got Andy Cruz over there, and you got Boots over there. But I don't know if y'all remember the video I did called "The Elephant in the Room," and I had Shakur and Andy Cruz, and I had Conor Ben and Boots, and I said the elephant in the match room. It was called The Elephant in the Match Room. Y'all remember that? And they be trying to say that Eddie be knowing what he be doing. Right. Let me get to these comments, man. Jose Rodriguez said, yes, sir. Mike check sounded awesome. Okay, Subaru said that T.O. called the cops on him in Vegas. Oh, man. He calls Subaru Gordo. Nah, bro. You trying, said he big. I'm still not sold on Pacheco, and he got to get away from Jose Benavidez, probably the worst trainer out there. I'm glad Berlanga got humbled. Maybe he switched the way he moves. I think it's over for Tim Zhu. Father and son quit 20 years apart. Crazy. Yeah. Brian got the juice. I think so. Son of Peter. I think he do. I think Brian got the juice, man. Easily baked. Salute. Salute, chat. AC. Salute. Bodywork. Salute, AC. But that's just the foundation, man. That's looking like these is scared, man. They doing anything. They trying to make it seem like they trying to paint this man. They even got Tim Bradley, man, with his hating self out here. Just slandering Brian Norman every chance he get. I'm like, man, how big is that bag that Bill got, man? Do they give him an extra budget? I think that's the DHP, the portion they get for being DHP, the promotional cut that they get for having a name on it. I think he just get to blow that whole little budget on YouTube and the people. And it ain't crazy how I was saying like these dudes was getting paid and they had people paid, but when certain people, like when Santa Claus was affiliated with the LDBC, right? He was protecting them. And now he basically saying that they getting paid too. Ain't that crazy how everything becoming full circle? But I don't have to compromise, and I'll be saying the stuff in real time, telling the truth, like the whole time. But y'all don't want to hit my Cash App. Y'all don't want to hit my Super Chat. Y'all just like getting the truth late. That's why I said, you know what? I'm not gonna be going live as much. And my videos is gonna be for special occasions. Because it don't make no sense, man. People, they just gaslight you. They'll use your material, use your argument, so that when they come around, they do content in like in a month, 2 months, 3 weeks, a couple days later, they use your stuff, get paid for it. But I said, y'all not gonna Ja Rule 50 Cent me. Y'all remember how 50 Cent kept saying all Ja Rule do is croon and sing? It's the same way like with the monologue and with the terminology and the reading the articles. They were saying, oh man, look at this dude, he want to read articles, or look at him, he want to show fighters and break down the sweet sign. We not into that, man. We just want to talk boxing. And then they go out and do the same thing. Yeah, I said, y'all not gonna do that to me, not this go around. But I put the link out there, man, because speak now or forever hold your peace until the next one. But this is my theory, man. These niggas is scared. What up, AC? What up, man?
Yeah, I had to click off the other tab I had open. But basically, man, I gotta say it like this. Yeah, you called it. You feel what I'm saying? You said it before we did our live, and then you said it actually on the live. You doubled down on it, to whereas it's gonna get crazy the closer this fight gets to actually happening. If it gets across the line and everything, you put it out there and said, just watch, it's gonna get real ugly. And for me, it was just I just started giggling to myself and laughing at the fact that it was less than 48 hours later where the storyline was dropped that he didn't want to. What's the issue? Devin getting ready to do it, and I was like, wow, that's crazy work. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if that's what Devin getting ready to do, that's his prerogative. He could start training camp early. That's the fighter's prerogative. But the contract that I signed, it starts on this date. The same agreement that the two of us signed, it starts on this date. So I knew that was a political stunt right there. And for me, my biggest, the biggest rationality that I could come up with to say why it happened without being one of those weird fans is, Boots versus Brian Norman. You tried to welcome him with trying to call him a duck and tried to make it seem like he was avoiding the fight with Boots for whatever reason. You wanted to try to put that narrative out there. So for me, when you kind of look at the pattern, it's like they know Brian Norman ain't never been on this stage. You feel what I'm saying? And for some reason, they're looking at that once you become a champion as some sort of like sorority bullshit, to where I gotta haze you to a certain degree and say, listen, this is championship boxing. The first thing we gonna do is get in your head and start fucking with you hard body. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes down to Bill and Devin, they have a hard track record of doing it no matter who they were. When you go back to looking at some of the things they were saying with Kambosos, then they tried to put the dirt out there with Lomachenko. Oh, you fight dirty in the clinch. Yeah, let's just make sure the ref is on his gangster, so so he can call you and possibly take off points because we know you like to fight dirty in the clinch. So this is what they do. Is it annoying at this particular point? Yeah, because if you're gonna do it, at least be creative with it each time out.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Let us know that there's a nuances to the way you handle yourself, promote, or however you want to call it, a championship fight, and try to get in the other fighter's head as well. Just be creative with it. Other than that, bro, you're annoying, and the thing that, as a Devin Haney fan, the thing that concerns me the absolute most is the fact that from the appearance right now and the way you guys talk, I really believe that you guys think you're much, much better than Brian Norman. Not technically, not anything like that, but we're just better people. You feel what I'm saying? We're a colored man, you are a Negro type shit. You feel me? We don't give a fuck about that country bumpkin shit that y'all on. That shit is beneath us. So if you looking at it like that country bumpkin dude that you are trying to look at through those eyes can actually box. He has very smart feet. You know what I'm saying? He has a shotgun jab. And anywhere from medium range to close, you get knocked the fuck out. Because your mentality is not taking him as serious as you should be. And you trying to play these mind games and shit like that. And I just don't see where it goes. Just respect him for what he did. That'll get him to lower his guard a lot faster than you trying to make him wear a certain jacket. Because that's not gonna phase Brian Norman Jr. Just like the boot shit didn't phase him, or is that this bullshit that you're trying to say about drug testing not gonna phase him? And like I said before, I find it strange that some of these people are actually buying into, or maybe paid to buy into, and trying to sell a narrative that maybe he might be using PEDs because we ain't never seen him have that type of power in knocking anybody out and whatever it was. But to me, it's like, but I thought y'all said Jim was trash. So he was trash leading up to the fight. Now that he got knocked out, you're on PEDs.
Yeah, talk about back knee and like he had back acne and all this. Like I'm like, and he getting it. and Brian, he getting it both ways because like this the people that like Boots, they saying stuff about him, and then you got the D-Hive, they saying so. You got the Beehive and the D-Hive going against you, and what I don't get right is Devin, he's not epic with the one-liners or the stuff. Like he's trying to use the Floyd playbook, but Floyd, he was catchy, he was original. He got stuff to where people try to quote the same things as him or try to, but like him and AB, they were good at
promoting that fight. Yeah.
But Devin and them, they just come off as just disrespectful. Like I tried to look at the interview with him in that Ring magazine, and I looked at Brian's first, and then I looked at Devin. And I'm like, we were like 40-something seconds in, he was like, well, I don't even know nobody he fought, and I don't know this. It's like, well, shouldn't you be trying to figure out who he fought? Shouldn't you have looked it up? Like, so you just not gonna look at his resume and look and see if he fought? Like, so you're lying for one, because you was at the fight. Why was you at the fight? Why was you over there in Japan looking at the fight, but you don't even know who? So you just decided you're just gonna go see Brian Norman? Like the stuff, like the trolling and the amount of disrespect that they have, it don't make no sense. And the only comeback that a lot of his OnlyFans have is, oh man, this hate for Devin, it needs to be studied. Like the man can't. It's like, but they bring it on. They bring it on themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm kind of used to it. I already knew this was going. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It's gonna get this, like I said, right after that video, it went crazy. So that's already. Let's move on. Let me get your opinion on this whole Boots thing, because
that was hilarious.
Yeah, like you got people getting mad because Brian Norman Sr. is still talking about he's talking about Boots. I'm like, he got a right to.
Yeah.
Like, y'all slander, like y'all use the machine that's behind Boots and all of this cachet that Boots got, and all, you know, everything that he's already coming, everything he built up with. Y'all got all of this steam from the Beehive going against Norman. And y'all mad because Senior's still throwing rib shots because it was wrong for what the Beehive was doing to Brian Norman. But ain't it kind of funny how they ain't saying nothing about this man winning 2 tune-ups? Everybody was on Turkey. Oh, he the best thing, but oh no, he lying. I noticed they do the same thing with Eddie. When Eddie says something that ain't too copacetic with the narrative that they pushing, they ignore it. They like blind, deaf, and dumb when it comes to that. But when he say something that's like, oh, like what he said about Shakur, he's the greatest fighter in the world, mate. Like, I really think that if people had an opportunity, they would actually pay. Like, you know, when it comes to some glowing praises, they in the mess hall with their chests out. But when it comes down to something like what Sheik said, they disappear. What was your take on that?
Bro, let me say it like this. When here's the just let me rewind it back to Brian Norman's situation. You tried to paint the picture that Brian Norman was ducking, right? Then you spin the block and try to make a fight with him, knowing that he's in camp and everything with Jin Sasaki. You show up to try to force him to sign an agreement that y'all agreeing or whatever it was you wanted him to sign for the fight, for you to fight him after Jin Sasaki. So you would have been, you know, contractually bound or term sheet bound or whatever that you signed this paper to fight this man. This man goes out there, knocks 2 months out of Jin Sasaki's life. You feel what I'm saying? And y'all get the fuck up out of Dodge. You still would have had to fight that man. Then we hear that you going up to 54. And then as soon as you get to 54, the same guy who was chasing you at 47, Virgil Ortiz, you then say, now I'm at 54. I don't want to fight Virgil Ortiz. I want 2 tune-ups. That shit right there, it's like, come on, guys, come on, guys, let's stop this right now. This is where, you know, the tracks done ran out. It ain't no more tracks. If the train goes any further, it derails. It gets stuck in the dirt because train wheels ain't made to go on the ground or in the sand. That's where it has to be. Then on top, then I just wanted to bring this in because this was a point you had made earlier when we talk about things that don't nobody want to talk about. The craziest thing that I went back and watched this interview, and I watched this interview several times, and it's amazing right now that I'm brain farting on who did it. But it was a recent, well, not a recent Shakur interview. It was a Shakur interview that was some time ago, and he was talking about the first time he was really talking about the situation with Cordelia and Eddie Hearn and shit like that. Mm-hmm. It was crazy that he said one thing that nobody picked up on, and that shit just made my jaw drop. He said he faked his hand injury to get out that fight. So I was like, you said you just faked your hand injury, so is that not a duck and you faking hand injuries? And nobody talked about that. Wow, it's fucking crazy. He just got that pass. And I was on another panel, and I was debating a dude about that. Like, yo, but your man said this. This is what he said out of his fucking mouth. So how do you trust him moving forward? But the dude was a heavy Shakurian, was probably born there, had a birth certificate that said he was born in Shakurian. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, when it comes down to certain fighters, and yes, that does include my guy, Devin Haney, shit is said that for some reason they get a pass on Haney, Boots, and Shakur. You know what I'm saying? There was in the past also a Terrence Crawford who had gotten a lot of passes on the shit that he was saying, and people, he was also a guy that people would say, you know, nah. What I heard what he said, but what he meant was, and I was like, yeah, okay, all right. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to how Boots was handled, to bring it back to the question you asked me, when Boots say these things and when we look at this man as a whole, you have to say, yes, there's a certain level of talent that's there. But now that you know, put yourself in a danger zone, in the, you know, where the whole fight, you're fighting on the edge of quicksand, and on the opposite side of quicksand, it's lava. You either got to show up and show out. And right now to come out your face and say you need 2 tune-ups, 147-pound lineal champion, 147-pound unified champion, #1 guy at that division. You need 2 tune-ups in the next division you go up to. The fuck did you put on 28 pounds to get up there?
Hey man, no, but that's the whole thing. It's like a lot of people out here gaslighting and like really, they be sounding like they about to cry. I'm like, this really hurts. Like this really hurts them because they like, what? He deserved the right to be acclimatized. That's what you're supposed to do. It's like, no, not when you the second coming of Roy Jones.
Yeah.
Not when you you 28. You 28, you about to, you know, you a little long in the tooth for like you said you was gonna do 4 divisions undisputed. You just was slandering, like your whole team was just slandering the Normans. Y'all did a cruddy, like that's why I be saying about that on code stuff, man. Like they did a cruddy job at allowing the Beehive to slander the Normans. and they still running with it. Like they're still having. I'm like, I thought I got rid of this like a couple videos ago where we went over, and I'm saying these are the people that choose to be ignorant. Like it's willful. It's willful ignorance at this point.
Yeah.
But to ask for tune-ups, and then to not even know who's the opponent. It's like to not even go for Bakram. Remember, I've been said, man, go ahead and get Bakram out the way and make your statement. Like, cause at one point in time, I came out and I did a video, and I had to apologize to Bud for ever thinking that he was avoiding Boots. Yeah. I had to do it because the way they are moving Boots, and it could be Eddie, because I do say, okay, look, it might not all be Boots. It might be because they're the ones that's cutting the check. He has, it's like Bob telling somebody, oh, well, this is how it's going to go. This. So to a certain extent, I put the onus on Eddie, but that does not relieve Boots from the responsibility because he's affiliated with him. And the last time I checked, I thought that he was a free agent.
Yeah.
I thought he was a free agent. I thought that was the final fight. I thought that was the third fight on the deal. And granted that Eddie lost the purse bid, he did a great job of slandering the Normans. He got him a unification. He got him the ring. He got him affiliated with Turkey. So it's good and bad there. Yeah. But the ball was in Boots' court, and the weight was on his shoulders for him to choose. But to be at this stage, like I kept saying with Eddie, and how coming off the momentum is always too many questions when his guys already have the momentum. The momentum fight would have been, if y'all would have did it right, would have been Conor Benn and Boots.
Yeah.
At 54. Yeah. Like what would have been it like, because Conor Benn went to 60, right? And Boots is coming up to 54. Like that would have been the ideal fight. Like that's just add water, but that makes too much sense. Like, so for Boots after his conquest to say, hey, I'm going for undisputed, when he abruptly halts that and then jumps up, if it ain't for one of the guys with the straps, like a Bakram, like if it ain't for Bakram or Fundora or somebody, or like a notable name, like for you to still be clueless as to who your next opponent is,
yeah,
that don't make no sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I probably would have done, just to make the statement, being that I was the WBA guy, you feel what I'm saying? I probably would have tried to use my last win and the momentum that I had to maybe go after Ennis Devin. You feel what I'm saying? And just put myself in that position to get that belt. Other than that, Conor Benn makes a lot of sense if he's just looking for the bag. Boachuk makes a lot of sense as far as a tune-up, but there's just one name that just kind of fucks with me right there at 54, and that's knowing how they moving him. That might be the smartest move. Keith Thurman versus Boots Ennis at 54.
I like that.
You feel what I'm saying? Because it would be considered a tune-up fight. Keith Thurman's last outing, he looked sharp as hell. And this will really be the test to find out whether or not you could do what people are thinking you can do. It's just a look. Stylistically, everybody will probably have Boots beating him. You feel what I'm saying? But if a Keith Thurman makes you look bad, then you ain't really ready for none of these belts. Maybe not even some of the guys that are sitting there and waiting. You know what I'm saying? So That's if he was looking at the IBF route. You feel what I'm saying? Maybe bagging a fight with Thurman. Other than that, I would probably be looking at Ennis Tellus if I'm trying to find some leverage between who I am and say, listen, I want to get up to the division and make a statement. Anything other than that, fuck this tune-up shit. I put the statement out there to see what people have to say, and the general public don't want to see me in any tune-up. They want to see me just go up there and do something. So if he just put it out there like that to get a read, just like the mixtape game and shit like that, I might give you a pass on that. I just want to see, what happens in the next 3 weeks, or what's your next move.
Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I just know that I know that if this was somebody else, for sure they wouldn't be getting the royal Ennis is clean, Your Highness. Like, it wouldn't be getting that kind of treatment the way he is. But I'm gonna leave it with this. He remind me of I know around our way we used to go down the street to this one dude's house. His name was Jaron, and Jaron had a basketball court in his backyard. He had the real official the official joint where we could adjust it. You know what I'm saying? We was putting that joint on, like, I think we put it on like 8.5, 9, and people was yamming on it and everything. But it was his court.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like something go wrong. It's like, nah, I called timeout, or nah, you fouled me. It's like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Okay, like, because on his terms, on his court, it was his rules. So it's or y'all can go home and we ain't gonna play. And everybody wanted to play, so it was almost like he used to kind of could have his way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of like what Boots be. That's kind of like he gotta have it to where it's in his backyard. He gotta have all of this, and it's like, well, that's not. Like, Brian Norman is getting his quite the opposite. He's known as a road warrior. He'll go on the road. He relishes in it. Like, even the come up. Like, nobody was talking about it. It's like he's like the perfect he's like anti-Boots. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because Boots got all the bells and all the whistles, and they trying to reduce Brian down to just being able to crack. And it's just like, well, if he's not all of that, then why didn't he hang around for a little while longer to give the fans what they wanted? Because I recall a time when everybody was saying, nah, bud, give Boots a shot. Like, nah, like, hang around, like, let him get his, and all of the beehive was with it. But just like everything else, when it's your turn and you getting in positions, and it didn't even take that long when you look at it. It's been 2 years. It didn't even take that long for it to get that. And now that the tables have turned and now Boots is in that spot, it's like, nah, I'm moving up. I got bigger fish to fry. Well, which ones? Which fish? It ain't the big tuna, because I mean, who? We don't even know who you fighting.
Yep.
It's not you ain't showing no role warrior type stuff. It's almost like you gotta have everything catered towards you. You gotta have the bag on some super duper A side. And I don't care if he wanted to fight you in his tellers. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? That's not a bad fight. But given the circumstances of who they be saying this man is, the moves look suspect. And I'm not gonna move off of that. It don't look right. It look funny. It look like you kind of nervous. It look like you might not be everything that everybody's saying you are.
Yeah, and for me, it's like this, bro. You said you got big fish to fry. Goldfish can grow to a nice, decent size, but that don't mean they killers. So, for me, with that being said, it's like, bro, you could look for all the big fish that you want. You know what I'm saying? Blue sperm whales are considered big fish, but they ain't dangerous like that. So for me, bro, it's like you putting yourself in weird positions to where everybody is questioning you all over again. You don't want the same questions that were lingering when you were 25 fights in and 26 fights in at 47. Like, yo, when we gonna get that real step up fight? And now you in this division, and you know, we ain't hearing nothing about a Conor Ben fight, and both of y'all under the same umbrella, and now both of y'all at the same weight. He ain't got a fight. He was sitting there trying to talk Shakur from coming up to 135 to 147 to fight him. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, why are you trying to do that when you got Boots right there, bro?
Yeah, Shakur just be taught. That's why I'm not paying Shakur no attention no more. As far as, and when he get a fight announced and he go in the ring, that's when I'm gonna be paying attention to him, just like all the other guys when they gotta build up. But I'm not paying attention to what stuff he say now. He just getting ridiculous. But as far as Boots, the biggest indictment on him, and I'm gonna land my plane here because this is my biggest indictment on Boots. Don't leave it up to the fans to do your bidding. Because when Eddie came out and he did that slander campaign, and it worked because there is a Boots hive. There's a beehive, just like there's a beehive. And the beehive is almost just as worse as the beehive, except for it's not like it's Bozy and it's Boots. So, and they're different character, like they're a different caliber of people than I think.
Yeah.
Than I think the Haneys are. The Haneys, they want to relish in that villain, that hood, vainglorious, like that's not Bozy and Boots. That's not their character. But that's the only difference. But I'm trying to tell the beehive, don't make your fans do the bidding for you. Don't make content creators and all these other people get out here and do your bidding for you as far as covering these lies and trying to like cover up this or make sense out of these moves, because they don't make sense. Like, you need to come out and clarify like what the direction is and what's going on and why we shouldn't be looking at you like we look at everybody else that's moving funny.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. That's my don't because they Eddie said that stuff and then the fans went crazy like, cause yeah, and when that's all we heard was about because Norman Duck, and they still talking about it.
Yeah. No
and
matter
you
how
moved on, like you moved on, but you don't. But you moved on. He went and got a fight right away. He done got 2 fights.
Yeah. Now here's the funny part. Even after Rachel and everyone else shows up and clarifies everything, all the real information is out there. They still say Brian Norman ducked him. Like the evidence, it's like I don't give a fuck about that evidence. So I'm like, okay, here's my issue now. Who are you, and how do I have a conversation with you? Because it's one thing to have enough intelligence to say yes, I'm right, but do you have enough intelligence to say, yeah, I know I'm right, but I also know I'm wrong? And just admit that. And then if you try to use, for me, an article that you read offline, and I'm telling you what the fighters said, and you're pulling up an article as your facts over the fact of what this guy said. So then it becomes this: is he lying or am I lying? Or is he lying and I'm basing what I'm saying to you off of his lie? So I'm just telling you what he said, and you're telling me what this third party person who wrote this article opinion is of that. So at the end of the day, it's like, my friend, if we're going to have a factual conversation, let's have a factual conversation. And the facts are this: this man wanted him to do certain things. They put in a campaign to try to tear this guy down. Now here comes the second guy under the same roof, and now they're trying to tear him down once again. And now the former guys of the other dude who just ducked and ran the 54 and is not looking good in his moves at 54. Now his fans to get the to distract you and gaslight you from that fact, they're gonna turn back around and reignite the whole first situation. Yeah, but that don't matter. I'm going back to when he first ducked. Why did he first duck? Okay, so after that they tried to negotiate again, and your guy was the one who reached out, and then he was also the one who went up to 54. So we're not going to talk about that. Nah, that don't matter. I'm talking about the first one, when he was offered the most money he was ever going to get. So you mean the second time they didn't offer him the same amount or even more? So when you start to put these questions out there, then it's like, oh, I don't try to get in the fighters' purses and stuff like that, But you just told me that they offered him the most money in his career. Yeah, but that was for the first one because he ducked that. He was only making 500,000. Oh, so you don't want to talk about fighters' purses? Nah, not at all. I think that's goofy shit. Oh my God, who the fuck am I talking to? So this is what, as fans and non-biased fans, we just have to really pay attention and listen to what these people say, and then we could just catch them out there all day long and just twist them in knots, and then expose them for the biased bullshit that they on. It's like, yeah, you're on the payroll to keep moving the goalpost and push narratives. I got you, and that's where I land my plane on that subject.
Well, I appreciate you coming up, man.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
Well, we'll talk. I'll wrap to you, man. A lot of things didn't happen here lately, man. In a good way.
Yeah, same here, bro. Yeah. Same here, man.
So I'm gonna catch up with you, man. I'm gonna wrap this one up.
Yeah, but listen, if anything, I'll holler at you tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow late afternoon, probably like after 5 or 6.
Okay. That'll work, man. All right, man. Enjoy your evening. Yeah, man. Always good when AC come through, man, and contribute, man. Lighten up the conversation, add a little humor in his little tidbits of things he's come across. And this is what I've arrived at, man. Hit my like button, subscribe to the channel. Remember, this is Fruits and Veggies, not that Reggie. This is fact-based content, not opinion-based, even though we have ours. Hopefully you learn something. You can put something in your rucksack and march on from it. But silence is consent is the channel, meaning that all it takes for evil to prevail is for grown men and women to remain silent. So we speak to those things, right? That's what we do. And this is one thing that I'm starting to realize, right? For one, we gotta start picking a lane or a complexion for the conversations that we're having about boxing online, because some people want to be on code, and we can recognize that. If you're going to be on code for the sport of boxing, not a set of boxers, not a gym, not a promotional company, not a manager, not a gym. If you're going to be on code for the sport. The other thing is, with the track record that Eddie has, with the track record that Turkey's starting to develop, when things go sideways and these dudes get their tails put in a blender and they get their careers halted, ended, or obscured because of the decision of being affiliated with these guys, I'm not going to be crying a river for you. I'm not going to be crying a river for you at all. I'm not going to be sitting up here trying to make excuses or trying to like wipe away. Like, no, you like Shakur, he chose to go over there. That's what was getting me a little perturbed leading up to the build-up of his last fight with the whole I'm being set up, just like Berlanga was saying, I'm being set. It's like, no, when you go take that bag, when you affiliate with these guys that are foreign, they're foreign to everything that you know. Hopefully that currency, hopefully you getting some real, you're not getting shillings or some Bitcoin or something. Hopefully you getting some real US dollars, or some gold bars straight up. But I'm starting to say, listen, man, I'm not gonna be capping and caping for you. Like, if you go over there and you decide, there's examples of when Andre went over there and he signed. There's an example of Subriel Matias when he went over there and he signed, right? You got Richardson Hitchens in this last move that happened when he went over there and he signed Ray Ford. He picked up Ray early, and he got moved, and he was able to get a title, but then he got relieved. When you affiliate yourself with people whose agenda might be a little ambiguous, because you got to understand, they could say that they like you, they could say that they love you, they could call you brother, they can say my friend. You got to remember that everybody at their core are going to have their best interests in mind. I said this a long time ago when it came down to Eddie. Before Eddie grew on me a little bit. Now Eddie has grown on me. I like Eddie as a guy, but as far as business wise and the moves, I know how to separate it and evaluate the moves, right? The history, the games, the narratives, and the sport as a whole and where it's going. I'm not going to be making no excuses for you guys when these guys make you look bad, because Eddie has made Boots look bad, bottom line. He's come out and said some questionable things. He was scared that he wouldn't be able to perform. Like, that's the last message you want to, we talked to the sports scientists and we was half off, but then weeks prior to that, you was basically saying that Norman needed to fight and all this. Like, come on, man. But when it goes bad, when you do slip on that banana peel and everything is not what it seems, and you really do get set up, we're not gonna cry a river for you. Cause you can't have it both ways. You can't gloat and brag and put it all up in everybody's face that you making so much more money and you doing this and you doing that, but then on the other end you talking about you being set up or it wasn't the right decision, right? This is boxing. You can't get all the credit for being the second coming of Roy Jones or the second coming of Floyd or Floyd 2.0 or Roy Jones 3.0, right? But then anytime somebody have anything questionable about the moves you're making with legitimacy, you want to cry. You and your fans want to cry and whine and moan and come on, man. I'm not gonna listen, you sign up with Eddie and Turk, man. It come along. Whatever happened to you. You took that bag. Just be prepared. Man. But the more and more I look at it, it's like the news, man, respect the shooter, man. Respect the shooter. Thomas Hill, Bodywork, salute, fam. Salute, Thomas. I appreciate you for coming through, man. Respect the shooter, man. Respect the shooter. That's all I'm gonna say, man. But to me, I'm not on that, man. Like we judging the moves. Boots, his father, they cool. But we looking at the moves and what's going on, man. We not gonna be up here capping and caping. You sign up with them foreign people and they do you wrong or they make you look bad, we're gonna speak to that. You don't get a pass for that. Nobody can say we mum on that because we want to be on code. Well, no, like I said, be on code for the sport. Anyways, that's all I have for you. Thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to Bodywork.